Good morning. I'm not on yet. Now I'm on. This is going to be another one of those strange mornings where I can't hear myself on, I can't, no one's talking back to me on the show, I don't think. Time will tell. So, anybody pops on, I'm a few seconds early while it was. Um, Say hi. Otherwise, I'm going to be sitting here probably trying to figure out everything else I was going to say today. In fact, I need to look at my show again real quick. Hey, John, welcome in. You're the first, buddy. And Brenda may be in there somewhere. I'm not sure she was going to be. Um, how are you today, sir? How's that baby doing? Not sure if not sure if we're going to be have anybody else here or not today, John. It may just be me and me and you, and some people may not be coming because of the topic, and some people are just not here. Mark's not feeling well. He might make it in, but I'm not sure. He called me yesterday to let me know he might not be here. I think he's on some new meds or something, and he's having a little bit of trouble. Oh, so you're one of those kind of grandpas that not afraid to change a diaper. Since he's not here, I can tell a good story. Mark will do. Mark's not. I've seen Mark, armpit deep inside the guts of a deer, but he will not change a dirty diaper. He'll change a wet one, but he won't change a poopy one. And he just don't. So all those grandbabies he's got, anytime they need to change, and he just hands them off. But I recall his dad's that way too. Hey, I apologize up front if, for not knowing this. Was this your daughter or your daughter-in-law that had this one? And is he your first? Oh, I've had hard post birth, so I have had a lot of. Oh, okay. You have three children, or well, they're not children anymore, but well, they are. I don't know. You may not feel that way. Mine are always going to be my children or our kids, even though that's not how they look at things. Well, congratulations again. Our daughters decided that but neither of our daughters decided they were going to have kids. So we've never had that. Yeah, I'll probably say privilege. I was really looking forward to it too because I wanted to spoil them rotten and send them home just like my mother did to me when they. I'm going to eat about a while since there's nobody on there but me and you. I hadn't eaten any breakfast this morning. She was born when I was 41, so Most guys my age have great grandbabies. Oh, you were 41 when your daughter was born. Okay. Does she live nearby? For some reason, I was thinking your kids had moved, your children had lived further away, but I don't know why I think that. We've never discussed it. I don't think. I was 25. Brendan and I were both 25 when Jennifer was born, and then I guess 30 when Kelly came along. Gotcha. Was there also a place in St. Augustine, John, or is there? Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. It's Little Debbie's, if you're familiar with the brand. I guess they're everywhere, but they're from Tennessee. Um, I think they call them Nutty Buddies or Nutty Bar or something. But I have to admit, I don't know why I got hooked on these things a long time ago, and I just always, you know. Ah, okay. Well, good for him. I'm not sure how old he was, but when I'm that age, I hope I can say I've got a girlfriend. I mean, Brenda's not still around, but she counts, I guess. Now we'll know if she's on here or not, because she won't let that stand without a response. Too much shy of 87. Oh, I gotta ask, how old was his girlfriend? I'm rooting. I'm proud of him. I'm just wondering. And you only had the one brother, John, the one that lives here, near here, or Tennessee. Oh, cool. I'll try not to talk with my mouth full. We had, I don't know if you remember, but Brenda and I just went to our 50th high school reunion last summer. Well, a couple 3 months ago, whatever it was, and they're saying we're going to do a 55th, but we'll see. I think we'll go if they do. I actually got to meet some friends that I used to ride motorcycles with and stuff. That was kind of cool. I'm passing 05. Oh, I'm sorry. Hate that's what took her out. Um, Brenda's grandmother lived in California up until last year or so or two of her life, and she moved back here to be closer to Brenda's mom. I'm trying to think if she wasn't the last sibling, or I think Brenda's mom was, maybe because she lived back here for so long and they hadn't seen each other. But anyway, she came back here, and that lady had gone through just about every kind of female related cancer you can have. She was a tough one. As far as we know, she was doing something. I'm not sure exactly what. She had had a colonoscopy, I believe. And I'm telling stuff Brenda might not want me to tell, but um, of that part anyway. Anyway, she passed. They think she passed out, fell and hit her head. Of all things, she died of a common household accident after all those battles with breast cancer and ovarian cancer, and none of those things were bothering her. As far as I know, she had survived them all. She was given 35 years, stage 4, and lived 19 years. Wow. Yeah, well, yeah. I think I think I've seen that. Somebody gets those kind of diagnoses, and then they seem to beat it for so long, and then when it does hit, it hits hard. Um, no names or anything, but my daughter-in-law got straight mustache hair, and I can see it out of the corner of my eye. Can't see anything, but when I have it drives me nuts. Um, we just got word that one of my daughter's mother-in-law may have pancreatic cancer. They just found it this week. Sad to hear that. That's anyway. That's a rough one. I guess the rest of my life, when I hear somebody talk about pancreatic cancer, I'll think of Alex Trebek. I don't think that had anything to do with it, Sean. I mean, I, I don't even know. I don't even know if that's right. I may be confused about that. That's why I said I probably shouldn't even say anything. But if it was, I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think it had to do with maybe medication and stuff. Yeah, it is. It's bad. Hey, Tina. I think is that what he had too, Tina? I didn't realize that. Good morning. Good morning to Mr. Chuck. And Tina, I'm gonna. I assume you saw the little red warning at the bottom of my thumbnail. Maybe you didn't. We're going to talk about SPIDERs today a little bit. I am. I think I'm going to be alone as far as hosts go. Mark's not feeling well. He's had I don't know, he had a checkup or some blood work done. They found that his sodium was really low, and they'd been messing with the medicine. I don't know if it's a. I think they're trying to figure out how to ease some of his pain, just to put it bluntly. I think the pain demon has kind of caught up with him, kind of like it has me over the last few years. Lord knows he's been beat up and banged up enough. Tina, I've learned that this cup that you and Chuck sent me actually is, I use it for a tanker. I let it refill my cup sometimes, and but it actually keeps my coffee pretty warm for longer than I thought it might. I mean, since it's not, I mean, it's insulated. I assume it's a double layer cup, but I've got a couple of cups with these kind of lids, and they don't keep them as usually don't keep things cold as long as different kinds of lids. But this one seems to do a pretty good job. And now that I say that, I have to remember I've got somebody gave me a big Arctic, not an Arctic. I mean, it might actually be the expensive kind. Oh, what are they called? John, you probably know they fishermen like to use them, and Yetis, a Yeti. A Yeti, somebody actually gave me a Yeti cup, a big one, and I bought one of these lids for it. And actually, now that I think about it, it used to keep my coffee hot for quite a long time. Or ice water. I used to like to make ice water and put in my truck when I was working. It'd keep water cool for a long time. Now, not a Stanley. In this case, a Yeti. When I said expensive kind, Yeti coolers and stuff are quite very well made and everything. I'm not going to knock the quality, but they're pricey. Now, I've got two or three. I've got two or three. I don't want to call them knockoffs really, but the Arctic brand, like this one, that logo, like a polar bear made into an R, or RTIC. I've got two or three of these, and they're real good too. I mean, that bottle right there will keep ice water icy cold for all day, literally. Yeah, they're just pricey, John, but I guess they're built hell for stout, and I guess they keep stuff cold for a long, long time. Okay, I just noticed an interesting thing on my search bar down here for I guess that's Microsoft. I don't Windows search. I guess at the bottom. I guess the NFL playoffs start today. I have a 150 quart igloo cooler. You can put a 40-inch fish in there. Oh, John, that reminds me. Um, I don't know if you got to see the show where I had Dave, my friend Dave, and Steve on that were at Dave's house, and we had them on one Saturday and talked to them. And Dave's a fly. He likes to fly fish, and he fishes now. Now that he is also retired, he's doing a lot of fishing. Bless his heart. I feel bad for him. He's been all over the Gulf Coast fishing for redfish, and in Florida fishing for I don't know what down there, maybe redfish too. He's been somewhere down in I want to say Jamaican Island area, bone fishing. I mean, he just had it really bad. Bless his heart. Anyway, he and another former coworker of mine are want to go out west this year sometime, or in the near future, and go for what they call in Wyoming Oh, catch the four big cutthroats, and I think, I mean, it'll pop in my head in a minute what they call it. We might have talked about it on here before, but anyway, so I was getting them together because Dave wants to talk to Mark about coming out to Wyoming and where they might want to go, and that's Yetis are good and not as expensive as Yetis are good and not as expensive. They're not as expensive as Stanleys. Wow, I thought they were. I thought they were like the most expensive thing out there. 2,000 clams. That is a lot of clams. How long would it take you to dig 2,000 clams, John? Since with the carry limit and all that. Anyway, so Dave and Dave got together a little bit. They finally got together on Facebook, I think, this week, uh, and Mark was talking to me yesterday about Dave had been to Louisiana, I believe, and it could have been the Gulf Coast of Texas, but anyway, along the Gulf Coast, catching what they call bull reds. I mean, these things were huge. I didn't even know redfish got that big. And I guess there's different kinds. And I have some old Stanley thermoses that John, they were really good. I mean, biggest mistake Stanley ever made. I'll just go ahead and get on this horse because I beat it for a long time. And the old ones, the old Stanleys had a cork filled screw in top. Well, somebody got smart and they invented, a pour through top. And that was going to be just the best thing. I hate those things. After that, I couldn't get a Stanley thermos that would hold something, keep something hot. All the heat came out the top of the lid, an open lid. Redfish, we call them her damn drums here. Well, yeah, they are drum, and that's the funny thing about it. Some people do call them that, and then other people call them, oh, these are redfish. I guess they are fun to catch, and some of them, I guess, are fun to eat or good to eat. I mean, I can remember there was a thing went on in Louisiana cooking for a while when redfish was, what was that guy's name? He was a Cajun chef. Pardon, not Pardon. Well, maybe it was. It started with a P. Anyway, he was on TV a lot, and he was always cooking, Cajun spice redfish, blackened redfish and that sort of thing. What was that been in the late 80s, early 90s? That was a big thing. It's like weak fish here are called spotted trout down south. And their drums also, John. The spotted trout are anyway. Justin might have been Justin Wilson, Chuck. There was it was either him or and I'm actually sure Justin Wilson did do that. God, I can't think of that other guy's name. I want to say Pardon. Onion. Onion. And what do you mean? Wait a minute, John. Are you just saying it like Justin Wilson did? Because how did he say that? It's always I'm gonna cut me up a onion. Somehow he accented or emphasized that. Wow, it's raining here. Pounding down on the roof outside. Keeps that up, I may curl up on the couch after a while and take a nap. I could use one. Well, I guess the college, speaking of football, I guess the college playoffs with that Cajun accent, yeah. I guess the college football thing's down to two teams. I watched a little bit of the slept through part of it, the Indiana um, Oregon game, and I guess Indiana put a whooping on Oregon. Prodome was a Cajun chef. Wilson was the Cajun chef. Okay, gotcha. Hell, I got a ladybug in my coffee. Get out of there. Dang things. I've had a small ladybug invasion out here. Not covered up with them, but and I know enough about them to know that because I've had my hands and probably tasted my fingers without wiping them off when I picked the darn things up. Know enough that they've got a bitter taste. If she's made my coffee taste bad, I'm gonna go and declare war on them. At least I don't have a corner full of them that I can see. I knew there was one in here once in a while, but first, good morning, Miss Carol. Karki has joined us. Welcome. Oh, don't be sorry you're late. You're never late. As long if you're here, I told somebody recently, if you're here, you're not late, or at least you're not too late. Anyway, I guess I've got one more college football game to watch, and I guess it's all over. That'd be the end, but pretty much the end of my football watching for the year until August, September. Hey, good morning, Mary Ellen. Welcome in. Good to see you here on this rainy Saturday morning, at least rainy in my part of the country. How are things in Oklahoma? Oklahoma, where the wind blows something down the plain, isn't it? You know, I'm going to think that coffee tastes bad whether it does or not, just because I know the bug was in it. That don't normally bother me, but I know those hard shell beetles tend to have a bad taste. Oh, don't ask. Do ladybugs migrate? Chuck, that's a good question. I don't. Not in the traditional sense that I'm aware of, but they do. But they will congregate in the sense that they'll all fly, get into your house. Down here, at least, we have them. I'll have to look that up because these are the Chinese or the Asian ladybugs. So I don't know all about their habits, but they will. They down here we tend to get them in their houses in the wintertime since they've arrived. Hey, Dave, Disney Dreams, welcome. And they tend to cluster up in a bunch, like in the corner of your room or in your attic, and they don't really hibernate, but they kind of group up for the winter, and then I don't think they live much longer than that. My guess is, and I haven't studied their life cycle, my guess is that's when they either mate, lay their eggs, or something, and then the adults die and we get new ones to clog up things. I know they can be a nuisance. I've seen people that had them just thick, just cover their whole corner of a room or something. How's Dave doing? Dave, are you in Michigan now? Completely, or maybe, or will be? I don't know if Mike's going to be here today. Our Canadian friend Mike. But last night, Rascal sent me pictures. He was at Chuck and John or whoever's a hockey fan. He was at the Winnipeg Jets game. They were playing the Los Angeles Kings, and I didn't get to watch the rest of that game, so I don't know how they did. They were ahead. I think they were up 2-0. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were up 10. I was going to say maybe I got that backwards. The Kings might have been up, but I'm pretty sure it was the Jets. I don't know how they ended up. You know, they'd lost like 10 or 11 games in a row, and maybe 12 if they didn't win last night. I looked at the standings the other day, and I thought they were doing pretty well. I kind of keep up with them. My buddy Phil's company he worked for was from Winnipeg, so we always kind of, I don't know. Anyway, I watched them, and they were always, it seems like the Predators, them and the Preds were always beating up on each other. But he was at a game, rascal, and made me jealous. I'd like to go see. I'd like to go see the Preds play, even if they stink. But they're not stinking right now. They've been moving up in the standings. Staying in Florida, okay. Well, I hope that works out. Oh, the rain is either slowed down significantly or stopping. They did win last night. Okay, well that's their first game in 10 or 11 in a row. I didn't. Phil and I were talking about them. He said, "I don't know what happened to the Jets." This was a day or two ago. He said, "Man, they just went to the tank, and they were at they were in very last place, and they had not been that far down. So I don't know what happened. I know Hellebuck was injured or is injured. I don't know if he was playing last night or not. So I know he missed some games, but surely they didn't lose every game he was out just because of that. I mean, it can happen, but I thought they had a backup that was better than that. Maybe whatever caused Hellebuck to get injured, maybe somebody put a curse on him or something. But anyway, I root for them sometimes, and then I hate them sometimes because there was a couple of years when they just kicked the Preds right out of the playoffs. They lost quite a few 1-goal games, did they? Okay, well, you know that makes a big difference if you really watch games. It doesn't matter what sport you play. It's a loss is a loss when you comes down to counting them. But 1-goal games, losing 1-goal games is hard on hurts and but you know it means that probably you were playing pretty good hockey anyway. It's that I feel that way about other things. Tennessee lost. Tennessee ended up losing four. It's football again, college. 4 games this year. Maple speaking of the devil, there he is. Good morning, Mikey. I understand you came away with a victory last night, buddy. I don't know if Brenda's here. She was up and messing around and doing things and sent me a note, and I hadn't heard anything out of her, so I don't know if she's here or not. We'll find out. Anyway, Mike, I guess you didn't end up in jail for anything last night, so that's good. I blew that roof. Out that arena last night. That hockey game was good. What was the final score, Mike? It was. I have a feeling Brenda has dozed off. She didn't sleep last night, so I'm sure she's tired. It was 2-0 when I swapped venues, and 5-1. Well, Dave, we always expect Mike to bring them, but so far he hasn't come through. Now, you'd think a man whose favorite hockey team won a big game last night, first one in a couple of weeks, you'd think he would have been celebrating and bought donuts. Yes, you did, Tina, and said hello and good morning to you and Chuck. Never hurts to say it again. No, it never hurts. There's nobody's keeping score on how many times you say good morning. She is finally feeling better, Tina. Thanks for asking. I sigh because we'd finally scheduled her doctor's appointment. Well, she couldn't get in until Friday, and by Friday she had started feeling a lot better. So she canceled the appointment. So we didn't go in. Hopefully that won't come back to bite her. But she ate spaghetti last night, and so she's got her appetite back. I mean, she wasn't eating anything but chicken noodle soup basically, and for 2 weeks. I mean, that she was pretty much not feeling good since Christmas. Oh, not Christmas. Let me back up. Actually, since right after the girls were here for Christmas, which was the weekend before Christmas because they were going out of town. So it'd been a couple of weeks, and I was a bit worried. I was really glad she got the doctor's appointment, but I guess in some ways I'm even more glad that she's finally on the mend. So that's good. And she's keeping her food staying in and staying down, and she can eat. She feels like eating, so that's a good thing. So we had spaghetti. Oh no, last night actually she made a stir fry kind of dish, and she ate that too. So I guess things are all good now. Spaghetti one night, stir fry. Yeah, I'd say she's good. Well, that's yeah, exactly, Tina. Big pasta dish. I mean, when I say she was eating chicken noodle soup, she was mostly just drinking the broth. But it was, and some of that wasn't staying down, to be honest. But so yeah, she's feeling better, and hopefully that's all gone. Now, didn't get any of it, thank goodness. So hopefully, whatever it was wasn't contagious. So now I need to set up and go see our buddy Phil. I hadn't seen him. We usually get together for Christmas, share a drink, swap gifts or whatever we do, and we've been putting that off because I didn't want to give anything to him. And he came back from his sister's in Arizona right before Christmas and had a god awful head cold for it took him over a week to start feeling better from that. So I didn't really want to go hang out with him either for a few days. Now everybody's healed up, so I'll have to this week maybe we can get together. We've been trying to get together to go do some target practice and um, just spend some time palavering and you know making guns go boom, and for lack of a better expression, we just always kind of enjoyed that. I like long range shooting, so that's maybe I can get back in. I hadn't done it. We hadn't done it for Phil and I used to do a lot of that back when we lived in Nashville. When we both worked in Nashville at the same time, and when I moved to Knoxville to go to school, I didn't live in a house. I didn't live in a place where I could really do that. And we're trying to get back into it. Anyway, it's not about me. We were talking about Brenda. The point is, she's feeling better, and now we can Phil and I can get together, and who knows what else will happen. Me and Diane are going to join the gun club and get our pals lot. Oh, really? Now, did you mean PALS, Mike, or did you speak into the phone and that's different, means something else in Canadian? I actually paid for Brenda to take a safety course a few years ago because the first thing I've always told anybody and everybody says I want to get a gun for home defense or anything was go take a good safety course and learn everything you need to know before you just start figuring you can just be a master of the whatever. Jason Thibodeau, good morning, sir. I was just a few minutes ago. I was talking about another friend of mine who's been down in your country fishing for redfish. It's called PAL. Okay. You'll have to tell me about that sometime, Mike. What all that entails. Um, Okay, that one's empty. Good thing I brought the other tanker. Speaking of thermoses, John, this little thermos, which I thought for years was Japanese, but I believe it's actually made in Thailand. It was one of the finest little thermoses I have ever owned. It's getting where it leaks a little bit now, so I'm going to have to get it, and I can't get parts for it anymore. You can buy parts for the new ones, and that thing keeps coffee hot for 2 days if you're not have it open. Possession of acquisition for firearms of Canada. Okay, or acquisition of firearms. Gotcha. PAL. S. Oh, well, good morning, Miss Diana. Of course, that will have to take. I think it'll be interesting. We'll keep you in the loop. Yeah, I'd like to. No, this isn't about that, and I don't usually. But I used to be a certified safety instructor, range instructor, range operator is not the right word. I could run the firing line, that kind of stuff, and I had training for home defense. I had a whole bunch of training, and I just did it because people used to ask me about it all the time. They knew that I hunted and stuff and had shot a lot, and people used to ask me about it all the time. So I finally went out and got certified for a whole bunch of that stuff. And then again, when we moved away and I went back to school, I just wasn't around a place where I could maintain it. And I got mad at the NRA and left them. So for a while, so that was the thing too. But that's a whole nother topic. But I do certainly believe in knowing what you're doing and being safe about it. That's number one. Uh, you know, people run out and want to buy a handgun. I always told people if you're not really familiar with a handgun and you guys can't do that in Canada anyway, but I said get a shotgun. I'd much rather have somebody know somebody had a shotgun. If they ask me about protection, home protection, that's what I would say. But honestly, thank goodness that's not near as big a problem as it kind of crept up to be in some places, and now it's not as bad. But that's a whole nother topic. But I get it. I know people want to feel safe in their own homes or wherever else they're at, for that matter. Oh me. Well, I'm gonna dial Brenda one more time. See if she answers. Diana, I understand that I heard a rumor that you threatened Mike with bodily harm if he got in trouble last night at the hockey game. Is that true? Oh, come on, babe. Oh, well. I see Diana said, "Good morning, Spotty Bear. Do you have any idea how strong spider webs have to be to hold a spider bear my size up?" What? You didn't threaten anyone? Well, one of you's telling a tale because, Mike said that he had to behave himself at the hockey game last night, which I understood. And he said that you told him he better behave. But now maybe you didn't. Maybe he was just telling me that. Spinning yarns, as we say. Yeah, both of you are laughing, so there's a story there, I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not gonna. Um, I was hoping Brenda might pop in, but that's interesting. I didn't. I just saw something about the title of my show, and I don't remember doing that. That's hmm. Well. Anyway, that's not that important. And I did that wrong, as I always do. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up so Tina can see that down there at the bottom I did put a warning. And we'll talk just we'll Mary Ellen, I just I put a warning down there just in case anybody's got you have a fear of arachnophobia, then I was warning people just in case. I am a nice guy. Tina says I must have missed it. No Mark today. I was getting ready to say that again, Tina. Thank you. That's where I was getting ready to bring up. Mark's not feeling well today, and I was kind of hoping he might pop in. He said he was. Uh, I think he had to go to the doctor's office this morning to give blood again or something. They've been trying to get his sodium levels regulated, and I'm not sure if it's a blood pressure medicine thing or what's going on. But anyway, he's so he called me yesterday and said he was afraid he wouldn't be at home when time for the show, and he wasn't afraid he'd get back in time. So um, we need giant spiders. Anyway, and so I don't think he's going to make it. I sent him a link to his phone. I thought, well, if he's sitting on his phone, he might give us a try. I think he was thinking about trying that, but he might not have time. He might not be able to get a signal. I don't know exactly where he's at. So, um, I will still hope he pops in. He wanted me to go ahead and do this show. He said, don't change your show, just do it. And so he had planned to be here. He sounds good. He's feeling so much better. He was kind of sickly himself there for a couple of weeks, and he's finally back on the mend. So I'm sure this has something to do with that. We'll see. He'll know more next time he's here, I'm sure to tell. They sure need something. Not sure if spiders will do it. Wait a minute, who's that needs something? Oh, I think I'm missing something here. Hey, good morning, Rhonda. I'm listening but not looking cause spiders. Okay, well that's why I put the warning on there, Rhonda, just in case. Not even the fuzzy cute ones that like I have on the front of my thumbnail. I mean, who couldn't love a face like that? And I'm not the kind of guy that throws spiders on girls or anybody else, even growing up, to scare them because that was, I knew that wasn't nice. What did Carol say? She put a spider on there. Partly the reason I came up with this again was one, I talked recently with you guys, probably I think about my, the show I did a long time ago where I was the defender of spiders. We did a mock trial kind of thing with, geez, I can't remember anything, but I wanted spider hunting with a shotgun. That don't work out, Diana. Now, come on. That was fun when a kid put spiders on girls. Dave, now come on, you're not that kind of guy, though. As long as they don't bite me, I'm fine with them. Well, fortunately, most of them don't. Every once in a while, they are some. And I'm going to talk about the bodies, but even they don't bite without some provocation. When I was a kid, I loved bugs, had zero issues. This is an adult realization. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rhonda. So what I think I'm hearing there is once you found out that some of them might hurt you, then after that you didn't want nothing to do with them. My mother was always afraid that I taught my girls not the Lynn Project. Thank you, Tina. My girls were always bad, not bad. They weren't. I raised them around snakes, and they weren't afraid to pick up a snake. And I do believe they knew non-poisonous from poisonous. They were good with that. But my mother was always afraid they wouldn't, and they wouldn't know the difference, and they'd grab a rattlesnake or something, or maybe a copperhead. But she's always afraid they'd pick up something wrong and they'd bite them, and of course that would be bad. And I don't think I ever quite convinced her that I taught them better than that. So anyway, that was always her. She was afraid they had too much education or didn't have enough. I'm not sure which. Even better with snakes watching them jump. Dave, come on now. Haven't seen her in a while. Oh no, I don't know. She just kind of faded from everything. I know she was going through some family issues, and I don't know. I actually, I'd like to, I'd like to hear back from her actually, just to see, make sure she's doing okay. I got more girly as an adult. Well, that does happen. Uh, I think Brenda's a little bit that way too, Rhonda. To be honest, she might say she's always been, but when we were younger, I don't remember her being that girly. And your words, not mine. But last time was on Jeff Bates' channel. Wow, that goes back a ways. And he's no longer. He doesn't do YouTube anymore either. And I didn't realize he had stopped. I knew I hadn't seen him on, but I didn't realize he wasn't doing anything. She still does marathons, but her kids are all grown. Yeah, I thought she was still running, Tina. I thought I have seen her post pictures about that. Now that you mention that, so she is running. Speaking of marathons, I guess this weekend had one of the Disney races. Not this weekend. Well, maybe. See, I'm gonna get confused. They always did those. They always did the Disney race weekends on a weekend. This time though, they did it in the middle of the week. Because I seems like, and I heard there was a reason for that, but I don't remember what that reason was. He's doing Texas Ranger baseball stuff. Oh, okay. What do you mean he's doing shows about the Rangers? Okay, that makes sense. He loved baseball. Yes, Jeff does do YouTube just very sporadically, no live streams. Okay. So he may be doing some stuff about the Rangers. He's not working for them, is he? That'd be interesting. Oh, somebody had it, John. You're saying that somebody had the whole half marathon recorded? Well, I did see where Jeff and um, Jenna and Dale had a thing posted on their. Well, they had something on Resort TV One's channel and their own channel. What is that? Adventures with Jenna and Dale or something like that. And still work. Okay, he's still doing nonprofit stuff. Okay, that's what he was doing before. Um, anyway, they had posted. I did see some stuff they had posted during the marathon, but I mean not the whole race. And maybe that's not what Josh from Walt Disney World Cup. Oh, okay. Saw it on the news this morning. He was running and live streaming. Okay, cool. So what I see, you said a half marathon, so that's 13 and something half miles. What's 10K? Isn't that a is that I'm trying to do my metric conversion here, and I'm not doing a very good job because 5K is about 3.5 miles, I think. So I guess a 10K would be 6.5, which is way more than I could ever do. Uh, I used 6.2. See, I was close. I did used to run once upon a time. Phil and I ran some. He ran a lot more than I did, but we worked out a lot together back then, and we would usually run as part of that, and we'd run 3 miles a day or 3 miles a night or something, 3.5. I don't know. But after I quit doing that a long time ago. 10K is a half, I think. It'd be a little bit more than half. I mean, it'd be 10K, be a little less than half. I don't know. I have a buddy of mine that I grew up with, and years. I think I may have talked about him here. He lives in Indiana now, and I didn't know it, but after we had split ways, or hadn't been, he'd moved to Indiana, and after he moved up there and was working, he met some people that he was up there by himself for a long time, maybe living in Chicago, and he'd go home on weekends. But when he was in the week, he I don't know, he'd hang out at the coffee shop, and then he met some people that ran, so he started running, and he was running marathons and all kinds of stuff there for a while. He's running the Boston Marathon a couple of times. I asked him the other day. He called me up, or I called him, and we were talking. I said, "Are you running any marathons right now?" No. So I guess his marathon career is over. He said that was just too much. He couldn't do it anymore. John says I ran 5 milers and 10Ks back in the 80s. I couldn't complete a 10K unless a giant spider was chasing me. I tell you what, I could do a 10K in my car or my motorcycle perhaps, but I couldn't run one. I've just never embraced that whole long distance running thing. I always wondered what it'd be like though to really be. I'm running and there's a bear. Well, you know how that works, Rhonda. You don't have to be super fast. You just have to be the faster than the slowest person in your group. And I've told people now for years that all they got to do is be with me, and I'm the bear bait. They can just stroll on off and get away. Because I couldn't run if you beat me with a big stick. My legs just do not work like that anymore. And I've never said this before, but I wish I could run a 10K right now. That would probably change my life dramatically. So anyway, back to the redfish just for a minute, John. What's going on out there is my buddy Dave that was on the show and another friend, Shannon, are going out there to do this grand slam of cutthroat trout they've got in Wyoming. I guess the game and fish department and the state tourism department came up with this idea of what do they call that? Cut slam or something like that, where you go try to catch. There are 4 subspecies of cutthroat trout that are native in Wyoming, and they're going out there to try to do that. And hopefully, I'll be going out with them. In fact, they said they wanted me to go, and Mark, of course, wants me to come out with them and hang out, and so hopefully I'll be doing that sometime this year. Maybe we'll see. And if we do, I'm definitely going to be doing some video recording. That's one of the things I want to try to do and get better at this year is learn how to edit video better and do some more vlog type stuff. Okay, John, I'm going to catch up. I ran 5 miles. Many times running and training, I would think that, what the heck am I doing this for? See, John, now that's kind of how I thought. When we were doing it just to try to stay halfway in shape, I was always thinking. The full marathon's 42.19. See, I'd have to say I'd rather run 26.2 miles or whatever it is. That 42 makes it sound a whole lot further to me. And yes, Rhonda, in fact, I might not even run then. I'd curl up and hope the bear recently ate. No, that's probably a better idea. Bad weather getting closer. What kind of bad? Just stormy like it is here, rainy, or something else, Rhonda? Yeah, my advice is just, you know, get away. It's funny, the scarier bears, the grizzlies, they do say to fall down and play dead. You're probably gonna get mauled up, but you might not die. And black bears, it's the opposite. You can neither one of them you ought to run away from because they can both catch you. I'll tell you that right now. I don't care how fast you are, unless you happen to be standing at the base of the tree, and then then the black bear's coming up after you anyway because they can climb a tree. Grizzly probably could too if they really try, if they were mad enough, but usually they won't. If they can get a hold of a big limb, they'll pull up after you. But anyway, tornado warning in Newman. Oh well, keep alert, Rhonda. Don't let one of them sneak up on you. You know, we've had some great weather, but right now I think we've got this long stretch of rainy, yucky coming in. Winter, typical Tennessee winter weather, really. Southwest of Atlanta, I'm northeast. I thought you were on that side, mountainy side. Well, maybe it'll stay down there then, or maybe it'll just go away altogether. That'd be even better. So who's got snow now? Um, Tina, uh, you guys still have snow? I know you had some. I think. I know other parts of New York got snow. Um, Carol, did you guys ever get anything out of the last couple of batches? And you're the further. So you and John maybe. I don't know if New Jersey got any of that or not. I know parts of New York were getting ice and snow, some snow, but ice first, which is never good. Um, Rhonda, you've been in Atlanta long enough. You've probably seen some ice storms down there. And Nashville was really bad for ice storms. It didn't snow there a lot. Well, it doesn't snow a lot here anymore, but it didn't snow there a lot when we lived in Nashville. But boy, we got some nasty, nasty ice storms. Well, if you guys might get some snow, then there's a good chance we might get some snow, I'd say, Rhonda. So anyway, okay. Um, I don't doesn't look like my wife's going to make it in. I'm going to try one more time. She's probably sitting on the couch, and her phone is probably in the bedroom. So I'm probably not going to wake her up or get her attention either way. But she got up and sat down on the couch and said, I'm staying up so I can watch the show. So I guess I'm a little surprised. Something on the screen there. Nope, not going to happen. All right, guys, let's talk about spiders a little bit. Now, as usual, when I get into something like this kind of a topic, invariably I realize because of who I am that rat hole or that tunnel that opens up, I tend to want to go way down deep into it. So as usual, I found that there's way more to this topic I would like to cover than I can do in one morning. So I'm just going to hit a couple of things. But I want to do kind of the important ones first and then talk about some of those little guys like I've got here on this front page, because these little guys are apparently getting very popular around the world, or at least around in the country. There's a lot of them on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and so I'm going to talk about that a little bit too. So that part might be more fun than the other part, guys. Those of you who don't want to see. I mean, I think that looks like a little teddy bear to me, or a stuffed animal. So let's see here. I'm going to try to do this by myself, which means I may not be able to see chat at all. That's not going to work. I don't have Brenda here to talk to. There we go. Now I can see chat. All right. Hopefully I can keep up with things a little bit, guys. Just bear. If I miss something, bear with me. I'll try to come back and get them. Thank you for not making this a full month series. Well, that could happen, Tina, but I'll probably put it off to do it in different parts throughout the year, maybe. It does look deceptively cuddly in the photo. Well, they are cuddly. I mean, in their own little way. Those little guys are just, they're not bitey. They can, obviously, if you get one between your arm and your upper arm, your lower arm, you mash it probably would bite. I would too, though. Yeah, I have had a Facebook friend who bred them and rescued them. Turns out some people get spiders and then decide they're not as easy or fun as they thought. Well, I'm sure that's probably true. I used to have a tarantula that I caught while I was out west once, and they were kind of fun, and they're not bitey either, really. The movies and TV have made fears of spiders much worse than they ought to be, really. But tarantulas, everybody think, oh God, I mean, there were movies. I can remember a particular James Bond movie where somebody released a tarantula in the room that was going to attack and kill James Bond. Well, they don't do any of that. They don't want anything to do with people for the most part, and they don't hunt them. And even tarantulas don't really bother them. They can and they will, but they're not deadly poisonous. They hurt. They would probably hurt. Mine never bit me, so I don't know. When I was pet sitting, I had a couple of clients that did rat rescue. Well, that could be fun for some people too. Oh, I can see why you mean the rat rescue, though. Yeah, well, that's the thing with pets in general. That's what happened with the. I'm getting off subject, I know, but the pot-bellied pig craze that went around. People got them and realized that they don't stay this big, that they grow up and get to be 100-pound pig or more, and then you got a hog, and you got to feed them and take care of them, and my daughter-in-law has pet spiders. Marielle says she loves them. Well, see, that's I love the big-eyed emoji there, Marielle. Yeah, you don't even have to be quick on emojis to get that one. Oh me. Anyway, I lost there it is. Yeah, people don't, and that is exactly what has happened in the Everglades in South Florida. Well, lots of Florida. People bought snakes and realized, oh my God, this thing gets 10 feet long, and they take it out and they think they're doing it a favor by turning it back into the wild. Well, they do it in South Florida where they don't belong, and now it's a huge problem. And now people are having to go out there and hunt them and euthanize them, and I'll tell you, most of those people would just as soon not have to do that. But so spiders, I can see why it can be spiders. Most people don't care about spiders too much, but rats, pot-bellied pigs, snakes, lizards. Florida also has a really bad iguana problem because of that. People are people, I suppose. They don't always do the smart thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about some. I'm not going to get as deep as I could or probably like to, and you may still learn more than you wanted to know, but I'm going to try to make it educational a little bit, fun. I've got cute pictures. So as usual, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment. Apparently the algorithms love comments, especially if they're at least 8 words. My understanding is eight words is the magic, or 7 maybe is the magic number, but it's got to be at least 7, over 7. Okay, let's do the things that happened on January 10th, since we're here. And the first one I thought was apropos, and it's January 10th, 1776 was when Thomas Paine released his first publication of Common Sense, which had a lot to do with the early part of the Revolutionary War, which was just on TV recently by Ken Burns. And it started out with, perhaps the sentiments contained in the following pages are not yet sufficiently fashionable to procure them general favor. A long habit of not thinking anything wrong gives it superficial appearance of being right, and raises at first a formidable outcry in defense of custom. But the tumult soon subsides. Time makes more converts than reason. That's how he started out. That's the first lines from Common Sense. In 49 BCE, which is basically before current era, Julius Caesar and his army literally crossed the Rubicon, and this is where that expression comes from, which started a civil war that lasted in the Roman Empire that lasted 4 years, and resulted in Julius Caesar being named the Roman dictator for life. Well, it turns out that wasn't too long, because, in March, the Ides of March happened in 44 BCE, and he was assassinated. So dictator for life for him wasn't too many years. Let's see, take 4 from 49 and make it down to 45. So maybe a couple of years he got to be the biggest, baddest ruler of Rome. But nobody said it was going to be a long life, I guess. 17. I wanted Mark to be here for this, because I think this is part of this is his ancestors might have been involved in. I'm almost sure. 1791 was something they call the Siege of Dunlap Station, and back in that time, settlements were often called stations. Sometimes that meant they were on stage routes once they were developed, but there weren't stage routes in southern Ohio in 1791. Anyway, it was near Cincinnati, and what history has named the Northwest Indian War. And that's back when the Northwest part of the United States was Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, that area. Words are going to be hard for me this morning. 1812, the first steamboat on the Ohio River or the Mississippi River arrived in New Orleans. It took them 82 days to sail from Pittsburgh to New Orleans. 82 days. Oh, is John leaving? All right, John, thanks for coming by if you're still in there. Sorry I missed you when you popped out. Same thing. Oh, Carol. Same thing happened to me. I raised tiny humans. By the time they were 20 or so, I had to release them into the wild. If everybody doesn't know it, I'm sorry. Everybody doesn't know it. John became grandpa this week. His daughter gave birth to a little boy. I don't remember if he told me his name or not. And he said he got to go see the baby yesterday. So I don't know if he's headed out that way or not. He might be. So congratulations to John and his wife. I'll tell you her name in a minute. Anyway, they're proud grandparents, first time. I can't imagine. We've developed steam power, which allows ships to go up and down rivers and go faster and move around than they've ever been. And it took 82 days to get from Pittsburgh to New Orleans. I swear I believe that Mark and I could drag a canoe from Pittsburgh to New Orleans in less than 82 days. And I say drag because if you've heard us tell stories about it, we've canoed a few times when the water wasn't high enough and we had to drag it most of the way. But 82 days seems like a long time to get from Pittsburgh to New Orleans. 1901, in New York, Tina, I put this in here just for you and Chuck. The Automobile Club of America began installing signs on all the major highways. It was a big deal at that time. Of course, now we, sometimes have too many signs, but they're the ones that got that started, and it started happening in New York. And I don't know, I didn't go into all the detail about that. I don't know if that was, it says major highways. I don't know if there was such a thing as state highways then. I know there were some federal highways, even back then. Very few of them, most of them dirt. But anyway, they started putting up signs, and now we have signs, all kinds of things. Oh, you didn't know about it, Tina? I said, do you have to wait till they're 20, or can you release them sooner? Oh, well, you can release them sooner if you want. I mean, 18. I think 18 is the common age of release down here. Unfortunately, sometimes that don't work either. And then this one may sound odd, and you may not have a clue what I'm talking about, but I'm going to explain a little bit because it's important to me because it in many ways affected my first career, not directly but indirectly. 1954, BOAC flight, British something air carriers, flight 781, a de Havilland Comet, which was I believe still is considered the first active and viable jet airliner for commercial use. It exploded in midair and it killed all 35 people on board, which was about all it held. Jets weren't as big as they are today. Now, the reason that was a big deal, well, obviously it's a big deal for those people and their families. But what was a really big deal about it, and what it changed in aviation, had a lot to do with how we inspect aircraft. Even today, the routines of inspecting aircraft and the parts that get inspected and how often they get inspected are all a result of that accident and the discoveries made after that accident about why it happened. And what the deal is with the de Havilland Comet, really neat looking airplane, by the way. It was also pressurized. Now, not the first pressurized airplane. Again, though, the first pressurized jet commercial airliner. There were other airplanes that were pressurized, military. The B-29 was pressurized in sections, not the whole plane. Now, what pressurization does, in case you don't know, and all the airliners you get in today are this way. That's why you can fly up to 30,000 feet and you don't have to have oxygen, or your ears might pop, but that's about it. Is because that literally you're filling the inside of the airplane up with air pressure, just like airing up your tire to a degree. You blow it up, and that keeps everything at a steady level. They actually refer to that as an altitude. The cabin altitude might be 6,000 feet and you're at 35,000 feet outside. So it's a really good deal. But they didn't understand it well back then. And they hadn't built airplanes for it for very long. Not airplanes that got pressurized maybe 10 times a day, up and down, landing, takeoff, landing, takeoff. And what they discovered, so they didn't know what was happening. And they actually built a water tank that was big enough to hold the entire fuselage and the wing roots of a de Havilland Comet. And they put an airframe inside that tank, and they sat there day after day after day after day, and they filled it full of air, released it, filled it full of air, released it, until it failed. And they took it apart and took it out of the tank, and they figured out all the reasons why. And what was happening was they were building airplanes, putting sheet metal skins over internal structures, and there were places at windows and other joints that they were just doing it like they had always done it before pressurization. What they found was those corners and those areas had to be prepared differently. They had to be stress proof. They had to be stress free. And because of that, we take airplanes apart, especially airliners, they get almost completely opened up. Literally every inspection hole, inspection panels, everything, the floorboards, and we're looking for all these kind of cracks that could have happened. They don't happen much anymore. They've pretty much eliminated that. It can happen, and there are different kinds of cracks for different kinds of places. But that changed how we inspect airplanes and made it all safer. And it was a bad, terrible accident, but in the end, it was probably a good thing for aviation because we learned a lot from that, and people figured out, hey, we gotta do this stuff. So you're safer for it. Anyway, look it up sometime. It's an interesting case study. Well, but when I was in school, going to school to learn about airplanes and learn about pressurization systems, we had whole classes about this and what they did and how they did it, and everything they did to find out what made that airplane crack. And basically, they just did that, inflated it, deflated it, inflated it, deflated it until it broke, and bubbles went everywhere, or just all kinds of things. But they found out that the windows in that airplane, where they cut the corners to make the windows, hadn't been stress relief. They didn't know they had cracked out, and the windows blew out of it. That won't happen today, I can guarantee you. Well, not like that anyway. You might get a cracked window, but it's rare. Okay, so we're going to talk about the arachnids today. So what are arachnids? Well, I thought I'd give you the real definition. They're more than just spiders. They're arthropods in the class, or there's 3 or 4 ways to say this. Now, I've always said it see, I can't say it now because I want to. Arachnida. And if you look it up and look up pronunciations on, and you Google it gives you all these different ways to say it. And I'm back to that thing I've said before. It's a dead language. So people can pretty much say it how you want to. That's what a guy told a panel and one of the wildlife contests that I know about. And he said, how do you know that's how they said it? The judges said he said it wrong, said he pronounced it wrong. He said, how do you know? It's a dead language. Nobody knows how it was said. Anyway, so arachnida includes, among others, spiders, scorpions, ticks, mites, pseudoscorpions, harvestmen, which are daddy longlegs type things. They're not technically spiders. Camel spiders, whip spiders, and vinegaroons. And if you don't know what a vinegaroon is, about any movie you ever see where they've got dangerous and deadly scorpions that are going to attack somebody, they're vinegaroons, which are not harmful at all. I mean, I don't even know if they can sting you. And they get pretty big, and we've got them out west, and in Africa they've got them bigger. And they literally smell like vinegar. That's where they get their name. That's their defense mechanism. And when you're out in New Mexico and places, you can see them running across the road at night. But they get big and they look scary, and that's what they use in movies. The big black ones you see in movies and stuff, generally speaking, are vinegaroons, and they're not even dangerous. But nobody knows that because they make them look really, really dangerous. Okay, all right, just checking text. I'm making sure I'm keeping up, guys. Not text, the chat. So, if you look at the scientific classification of this and break it down, it's the kingdom Mammalia, arthropoda. And to be an arthropod basically means the body is sectioned and has legs on each section, sort of a thing. That's real brief. Oh, really over the top explanation. They're in the clade or the clade. I'm not even going to say that one. Arachnomorphia. Subphylum Chelarata. Arachnida. Anyway, and that's where we're going to stop, because after that you get subspecies, you get species, genus, and species, and break it down, and there's a and then family. I mean, it's just it's a thing. So basically, you can see in that drawing the basic characteristics of arachnids include 4 pairs of legs, 4 pairs on the body, divided into 2 groups, stigmata. The cephalothorax is the upper part where the head, what we think of as the head, and the abdomen, which is the big back. Usually on spiders, it's kind of a big squishy back part. That's one of the things about like tarantulas. If you ever have a pet tarantula, don't drop it, because when it hits the ground, that big squishy part in the back will just bust. They're very delicate, actually. And if you look at that, you can see everything there from scorpions to ticks. My least favorite arachnid, I think, in the whole wide world. That grande longlegs on the red flower, I think it's a flower. That's a harvestman, and just all kinds of other critters. Now that scorpion from the second row vertical row, second one down. Those are the kind of scorpions that we actually have them here, although they're so rare, most people don't even know that. But they have them out west. We used to flip over rocks and find them. They don't get very big. They're really only about like this. They will sting you, and they will hurt you about like a bee. They're not usually, unless you happen to be allergic, which is rare. But that's another member of the same family spiders are in. And that's a vinegaroon in the top right corner, but that's not a great picture of a vinegaroon. I should have put another one in there. But we're not talking about vinegaroons today. We're talking about spiders. So, and here's just a whole group and more explanation about legs and what sections do what, and where they're at and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to go into all that because most of you don't want to look at them that far, and I'm not going to either. Okay, so like I said, we can't do all the spiders in North America, so we're just going to talk about a few. And I figured if I was going to talk about them, I should at least talk about the dangerous ones so people know what they are and what they look like, and to stay away. All spiders are not as bad as they're made out to be. The 2 worst spiders that we have in North America are these first 2 on the left. That first one with the penny, and that's a big one. I've got the penny's in there for comparison of size. That's a brown recluse. That would be a big brown. The biggest brown recluse I've ever seen was probably not even that big. But I've seen some pretty good sized ones. We used to catch them in our office. And the black widow, which is the one in the middle. And both of those spiders do produce a dangerous bite in that they're painful. They can cause serious tissue damage in the bite area, but not necessarily. It's not like I hate to even say a rattlesnake. It's not that kind of venom. Well, it is necrotic, but they hurt, they're painful, and yes, some people could die from it. Most people are just going to be in discomfort, but you still don't want to get bit by them. I mean, you don't want them biting you. My dad got bit by a black widow when he was a young man. Story goes it was in the outhouse, so you can take where he got bit for wherever you want. And he spent time in the hospital, but this was in the 40s, maybe. Today they'd probably tell you to take an aspirin, put some antibiotics on it, and keep it. Back then they didn't have much antibiotics yet. But those are the worst 2. Now the other 2 that you don't hear much about at all, and actually the more I've read about them is while they're on this list of poisonous or venomous spiders, they've done a lot of studies on them, and it turns out they're probably not near as bad as they've been made out to be. And there's a good chance that bites that people think are these spiders which are the hobo spider, upper right corner, and what they call the yellow sac spiders, like the little one at the bottom, um, are probably may very well have been a brown recluse or a black widow. Now we're going to talk about the brown recluse first because he's just one of my not favorites, or well, whichever way you want to look at it. And basically, that large light green area in the middle of the country is where they are for the most part. Doesn't mean they can't be out along the edges of that, but you don't see them much in other places. There are some that live out here, like north of Baja, where my cursor is, that are actually they call them Western recluses, but they're actually more of a Mexican. They come from further south, and occasionally they get up that far. Um, and I put this blown up picture so you can get an idea about eye pattern. Eye patterns, I'm going to talk about eye pattern several times today because it's really cool. Spider eyes are really cool. Forget about all the other spider stuff that bothers you. Their eyes are really neat. And they have a necrotic venom. And I've got a picture here in a moment that shows what a bite can look like from a brown recluse. That's the bite on the right, and that's a nasty looking one. That's according to the pictures, that was about a 4-day-old bite. Unfortunately, what's going to happen there is most of that skin's going to die, and they're going to have a hole there and a scar once you get it healed up. But that's getting to be one of the worst ones. I mean, I'd say that's one of the worst. I've seen people. You get people around here, if they get bit by a brown recluse, it tends to be on their hands because they reach into an old cardboard box that's got stuff in the attic or in the basement or someplace, and that's where brown recluses like to hide. That's where I've seen most of them are in old paper files, boxes of paper files, and that's a dry. They like that habitat, and they live there and hunt there and all that. And the circle, if you hopefully you can see that yellow circle. And what I'm pointing at there is this mark right here on the top of the head of the cephalothorax of the spider, the front part. We'll just call it the head, and that's the fiddle, and that leads a lot of people to call them fiddleback spiders, and a lot of people here call them fiddlebacks. But that's a good way to tell if it's actually a brown recluse or not. There's a lot of spiders that are not harmful whatsoever that are brown like that, somewhat like that. But they don't have that fiddle marking on the head. This guy's the only one that's got that. Tina says, see, the vets thought that was what got Danny, but said we don't have dangerous snakes. We don't have brown recluses. Well, could have been a black if it really was spider venom, and I really doubt that. I think Danny got bit by a snake. And it could have been 2 or 3 different snakes, either a rattlesnake of some sort or a copperhead, is what I think. I'm not a doctor, a vet. Anyway, but if it could have, he could have been bit by a widow. They can do something like this too. I just never heard of a dog getting bit by a spider and having that reaction, but I have snakes. Anyway, so that's a brown recluse, and that's a huge blown up picture. They're not that big at all. Like I said, the one that was by that penny is one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. Now, I've not seen every brown recluse in the country, but I've seen a bunch of them. We used to catch them regularly in some of our old buildings and some of our office buildings. Every once in a while, you'd have one crawling across the top of your desk cubicle. So we had to watch out for them. I only know of one person that ever thought they got bit by one in the office area, and I'm not sure it was, and it didn't turn out anywhere near like this. It was just a small bite place that could have been a lot of things. So we got black widows, and we got a group of widows actually in this country. I didn't realize there were this many because I've never seen the bottom 2. Well, I probably hadn't seen all 3 of the top ones. But we got a northern black widow. Hang on a minute. Let me see if I've got. Let me pull up my other stuff here. Yep. Oh. So we got a northern black widow in the corner. We got a southern black widow in the middle. And then we got a western. Actually, let's see. Yeah. And then we got a western one over here on the far right. And then in Florida, just so happens they have red ones, like in that lower left corner. Never seen one of those. And again, in the Southwest, we have this brown looking one. Or that's a little confusing because they think there may be some. Sometimes there are black widow juveniles that have some brown coloration when they're young. So I'm not sure 100% sure, but that is more of a Southwestern phenomena. Again, check out the eye pattern. And I know nobody here wants to get close enough to see their eyes. I get that. But black widow, all the widow spiders have an eye pattern like this. They have 8 eyes. I guess you got one for each leg, huh? And, you can't really read that, but you can kind of get an idea. I've got a better example of this in a minute that tells more about the eyes. And these are examples of black widow bites. So here's one I've seen bites that they think were widows, and they look basically like the one on the thumb here on the upper right hand or left hand. Again, that's usually because somebody reaches into something and they get bit. The one on the right is one that's worst case scenario for black widow, but you can see that it's much like that brown recluse spider. There you go, Florida being special. I know Florida's always got to be special. That's necrotic. Yes, it is, Tina. It damages cells. Well, yeah, that's what it is. That's what all Danny's leg looked like. Let's go up to his inner thigh. And some snake venom. Timber rattler snake venom can do very much the same thing. Copperhead can too, actually, if it goes untreated and it gets. I know people have gotten bitten by a rattlesnake. They get puncture mark, it swells up, it turns black looking, and then it goes away. I also know people have had to lose a thumb from it. Again, people reach into things, they get bit. It works with snakes and it works with spiders. But anyway, that's the worst black widow spider I've ever seen. Not that I've seen a lot, but I've seen some. I don't think Dad's was ever that bad. Okay, then we got the yellow sac spiders, which can be found pretty much anywhere in the country, but they're really not that prone to bite. They can, and if they do, you're probably going to it's going to be like a bee sting or something, irritated, but it's not like those others. It's not necrotic. It won't dissolve your skin, or the cells in your muscles and skin like the other guys do. And I put that one picture at the bottom. Again, I'll apologize if it bothers you. That shows their fangs. They look nasty in that picture, but you got to remember that's a little bitty teeny spider. And again, look at the eye pattern. Look how different the eye pattern is. Still got 8 eyes, but and they have these eyes all look, forward, sideways. Basically, they're like a 360-degree video camera that we have today. I just wonder if this is how we learned how to do that, from studying the patterns of eyes on spiders. It's fascinating to me that a creature that's this small, not developed, doesn't have a brain like we do, or actual. They have a different kind of nervous system, and brains they don't really have what you call a brain. It's called more of a ganglion, I believe is the right word in it. But they can see all the way around their head and know which way I think about that and I'm like, which way would I go? Where is it? And then we got hobo spiders. And I did not know anything about hobo spiders, and I think I know why. As it turns out, the hobo spider, this is according to a paper I found that was written in Utah by the University of Utah, I believe. that hobo spiders are native to Europe, and they weren't detected in the Pacific Northwest until 1936. Over time, they have spread out to other parts of the country. So again, these guys may actually be an invasive species that came over on ship, no doubt on shipboards or cargo, and while they're listed as a venomous spider, almost all new evidence and studies have shown that they're very non-aggressive, and they're probably not. Most of the time, people think they got bit by a hobo spider. It's probably something else. They're not really as dangerous as people think. Um, and most people, you can't identify them, and they kind of could look like a brown recluse might look like one. But they're a funnel web spider, and they find them. It says here that they found in Utah homes from August to October, and that's when they're. I believe that's during their mating season, so that's when you see them out and about. The CDC does not list the hobo spiders among venomous spiders anymore. But they are that are toxic to humans, so they're not really that toxic. And like I said, they've sort of been declassified, but they are on the list, which I think they should come off, and maybe they will. There's no need in scaring people with something if it's not really a problem. That on the right, you see there's a typical funnel web is a hobo spider with one of their egg sacs that they've created or built, and that's full of little bitty spiders. That freaks me out a little bit, so I won't even go there on that myself. I've seen them. I've seen little bitty spiders or wolf spiders that were covered in little bitty baby spiders because they carry them around until they get up to a certain size and age, and then they all go their separate ways. Jason says the most beautiful spider is an orb weaver. Yes, I was going to talk about those. I'm going to save that one for later because I knew I had too much, so I backed off on the orb spider. We call them banana spiders. They build webs across trees. Yeah, we have them here too, Jason. We have some yellow looking ones. We have different kinds. I think they're really cool. I think they're neat. Some people call them, I believe they're the same thing, but some people call them riding spiders too, or garden spiders. They're also orb weavers. Tina, I'm still amazed that Danny's wound got so bad that they made such a good recovery. Yeah. I wonder if he even remembers having 4 legs. That's a good question, Carol, because animals, unlike us, don't they seem to once they adjust, they just move right on, you know. Now see, Carol, the opposite. I don't want to look at all those eyes and legs. Wounds, even Danny's didn't gross me out. Okay, let me see what all I missed here. I can look at spiders all right, but I have to avert my eyes from the wounds. I get both of those arguments. I get that. Um, da, 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 da. And then Jason are those yellow and black ones. Um, hey, off topic, going to move the inaugural stream of my channel next week. Okay. Hang on to that thought and we'll talk about that in a bit. Um, yes, they're yellow and black. And we have yellow and black ones up here too. But there's several different varieties of that. I always suspect that the spider that Charlotte's Web was sort of modeled after, if there was such a thing, is probably some kind of an orb weaver, that garden spider type thing. Yeah, I just went into Streamlabs after a while, and man, has it changed. Yeah, I'm thinking I may change mine too, and I don't want to get distracted too much, but I don't know if I'm going to stay on the one I'm on now. Hell, I can't even think of what I'm doing. The one I'm using, StreamYard, I may change that because they're changing a lot and prices going up. I may look for something different. But anyway, moving on to the next thing. But the hobo spiders are, they're funnel web spider group, and now you go to places like Australia, they have some really dangerous funnel web spiders, which could be also partly why people thought these were bad. Let's see. I think we're still talking about Danny. I said they told us he'd adjust, and he has. But you should see his confusion when he tries to do stairs, and he does. Oh yeah, he's still trying to figure that out. It doesn't work out, but in general, I don't think he does. Jason, we get those in our butterfly bush every now and then. Some years we don't see any. I don't see those around our house either that I can remember. But we've lived other places where you'd see them outside, and the web changes a little bit, and they're neat. And of course, I used to walk through a lot of them in the woods and out in the yard, different kinds of orb weavers. But anyway, so that's all about the bad ones, and that's all I'm going to talk about them pretty much. Well, here's a little bit more of again, if you want to get down and look at your spiders or figure out what you got, and you get your magnifying glass out and you put them in your little jar where you can't bite anybody or anything, and you can see through it, and you can see the difference between a wolf spider, a hobo, or a domestic house spider. Look pretty much the same eye configuration, or a grass spider, which I don't know. That's more of a Western thing, I believe. We may have. There's so many spider varieties and species that there's at least 4,000 different kinds, I think, in the United States. That's why I realized I can't talk about all these. That upper left picture is an adult hobo spider, and you can kind of get it's a male, which don't tend to be as dangerous as the females if they're going to bite. Usually, the black widow female is more dangerous than the male black widow. Same with the brown recluse. I don't even know if the males bite, to be honest. They probably do, but I don't know if they don't carry the same amount of venom, I don't believe. And this is an example of those 4 spiders that I was just showing. We got a hobo, and then we got a grass spider, and a house spider, and a wolf spider down here at the bottom. All of these spiders get accused of being hobo spiders because we're afraid of hobo spiders, but all these other guys don't really bother you. And almost all spiders can bite, but then again, so can just about any other critter out there. So let's talk about the fun guys for a minute. Let's talk about jumping spiders. If you can look at these pictures, they're really cute. Why does he need all those eyes? Well, I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, Tina. I'm glad you asked. I'm going to show you. Well, I'm going to show you how they use them, at least. It's kind of like you've ever seen a fly's eyes, or an example, flies have these great big eyes, and if you look at them close, they're like multiple little hex-shaped cells or whatever that make up the eye. Well, those eyes kind of do the same thing. They get a compound vision of the area. We kind of see, we have peripheral vision, so we see like in a big cone out this way. These guys can see because of their size, because of how they hunt, because of how they live. They need to see all around them. And that's what this eye arrangement does. Why all spiders aren't exactly the same, I don't know. But it does have something to do with how they live and how they earn their living, so to speak, because jumping spiders, which we're getting ready to talk about, are more of a diurnal hunter, and they do use webs. They do catch stuff in the webs, but they also run, jump, catch stuff, which is what makes them really cool. And they use their eyes for that purpose, and it makes them more efficient hunters. So you're probably going to see spiders that mostly live in webs. Their eye shape and design is going to be a little different. These guys that do have webs, but don't use them quite like an orb weaver, for example. And they hunt, and they need to be able to see. When I hunt, I'd love to be able to see all the way around. I could see so many more squirrels. Hey, Doug, welcome in, buddy. The jumping spiders have sort of become a thing. Who knew? On the internet. And while they're little bitty guys, the big jumping spiders, most jumping spiders are, this is the top of a medicine bottle. That's about an inch. Yeah, just maybe an inch and a quarter. They don't get that big. That would be a huge jumping spider, even all spread out. They're usually not that big. And they look like little teddy bears. Maybe different teddy bears, but teddy bears. Because they look furry. You know, they'll get all these little hairs on them, which probably aren't actually hair. I can't remember what they're actually made of. But you can look at the map, and while this is mostly about the United States and North America, you can look at the map and see that jumping spiders pretty much exist everywhere in the world except Greenland. Well, there's a few in Greenland. Some of the Arctic, probably in the Antarctic, they're probably not, but um, because they wouldn't have anything to live on down there. There's no insects for them to eat, and these guys eat insects. So that goes back to my original defense of years ago. They eat insects. If you have a couple of these guys running around your house, let them be, because they're eating flies or ants or anything that gets in your house that they can catch. They'll eat it. Even up to, I've got a picture here in a minute. You'll see a little bitty black, little bitty tiny jumping spider that's got a big old grasshopper looking bug. So they will catch and eat things that are bigger than they are. And let's see here what I can talk about them just a little bit. As of 2025, this family contained almost 700 genera, so genus, and over 6,000 species, so a lot, making it the largest family of spiders, about 13% of spider species. Jumping spiders have some of the best vision among arthropods, being capable of stereoptic color, keyword, color vision, not just black and white, but color vision, which I think is really cool. And use sight in courtship, hunting, and navigation. So they function a little bit different. Although they normally move unobtrusively and fairly slowly, most species are capable of very agile jumping, notably when hunting. But sometimes in response to sudden threats or crossing long gaps, they can do all that stuff. Now they get cuter the further away from my house they are. They might be cute, but that doesn't make me like them. Oh, come on, Diana. Come on. I wouldn't lead you astray. I'm not that kind of bear. Although they know I lost my place. Both their book lungs, which is an interesting thing. Some spiders have book lungs, which basically means they've got little lung, almost like gills, and they look like folded paper. They're thin layers, and they're folded one on top of another, and they open up. And again, cool stuff you learn when you start getting into these things and looking under a microscope. Both their book lungs and tracheal system are well developed. They use both systems, bimodal breathing. I wish I had bimodal breathing. Jumping spiders are generally recognized by their eye pattern. All jumping spiders have 4 pairs of eyes, with the anterior median pair, the 2 front middle ones, being usually the biggest. Those big green ones in that picture at the top right, that's the ones they're talking about there. So I'm going to try something here. Let's see if this works. So bear with me. I hate that Ian's not here, but I've got a couple of real short jumping spider videos.
Folks, check out my new little friend here. This is
That's a big jumping spider.
Regal jumping spider, the largest species of jumping spider here in the United States. I just found him hanging out on this lovely little palmetto behind me. And there you see where they get that name, jumping spider. Now, spiders are able to jump using their hemolymph, their blood essentially, and they pump it out through their legs. He's looking right at me. They pump it out through their legs to essentially lock those legs into position so they can get some pretty intense jumping power using a hydraulic system, friends, which is why these spiders can look a little robotic when they move. But jumping spiders are just so adorable and always one of my favorite little arachnids to encounter. Their cute, fluffy exterior makes these some of the more palatable spiders for most people. They're not nearly as creepy or gross to people as many other groups, which is why they're so amazing to get to show you all at home. So you get to see spiders aren't always the ones that have to creep you out. They can be, hopefully you're finding this one, cute as well. But what a fantastic little jumping spider. So cool, so cute, and easily one of my favorite things to encounter on a nice walk like today. There he goes.
See, that could be me in another life. You guys might not imagine me out catching bugs and stuff, but make it happen. Got one more quick. I think this one's a little shorter, actually. I just thought there was something neat about this one.
Of course, you guys can meet all my spiders.
Oh, I
Over
remember
here is
why
my
now.
jumping spider wall. Pretty much all the spiders are on this shelf over here, and I put an LED strip light at the top as well, and it's just on a timer, but it looks super cute. But here is Ghost. She is actually my oldest jumping spider, and she does this little dance every single time I take her out of her enclosure. She's super cute. This is Clementine. She is a sub-adult orange phase regal jumping spider, but look how adorable she is. Oh my goodness, she loves to explore. This is Winston. He has a Phidippus adumbratus. I think I said that properly, but he has these cute little zebra legs. This big girl here is Maple. She's also known as a heavy jumping spider, but she's gigantic, and she reminds me of a cat. And this little girl, her name is Charlotte.
Oh, dang it.
And I'm not really sure what her phase is, but she is also a regal jumping spider. And I don't have a name for this guy yet, but this is the Phidippus nikites that I unboxed, and here's him eating a giant waxworm.
So you see what I mean by eating bigger stuff. Hi, R. Johns. Welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. I didn't when you came. That's why I messed up there. I clicked on. I tried to say hi, and I cut the video off. But anyway, that's why people are fascinated with jumping spiders. And as you can see, this lady up, back up. The lady in that video on the right, she's got little boxes for them. I mean, I would consider that probably serious. Could you all see that and hear that, by the way? I meant to ask that earlier. So you may not have seen them at all. You don't know what I'm talking about. You know, I'd call that serious spider husbandry, maybe, but then again, maybe it's just having spiders. Some people are so serious about this that they've even made what I would call a toboggan or a stocking cap or a watch cap or a toque if you're from Canada with with spider eyes on it. Like that little guy on the right. See the similarities? I mean, look how, I mean, they look furry. They literally look furry. Okay, good. You saw it. Good. Now, here's a little bit about those eyes. Where you were asking me about the eyes. Jumping spiders have exceptional vision for their size. They have using 5 specialized eyes to hunt actively. They have 8 altogether. Their 2 large forward-facing principal eyes offer high-resolution color vision with depth perception, aka like we have. Our 2 eyes are made to do that too. We have depth perception. Most people have color vision, even if it's blue-green colorblind vision. And we have depth, and it allows us to have depth perception. They always told us, I mentioned this before, our daughter, only has one eye, and that was one of the concerns with her was her depth perception would be off. She's adjusted to it and learned, her mind doesn't think about it that way, but having 2 together like that is partly how we do have depth perception. Anyway, while the other 6 eyes provide wide angle motion detection for nearly 360-degree view. Think about that, 360 degrees. Allow them to stalk and prey with incredible precision. Basically, they see as well as or better than most normal predators, mammals, or other vertebrates, or vertebrates, I should say, not other. They're not a vertebrate. And it allows, but they're daytime hunters. That's the key to these guys, and that's why they have the eyes. How they're, yeah, I'm gonna say why. You can question me later, but that's how their eyes work. It allows them to be hunters. That's their niche in life. That's how these spiders have evolved to hunt in the daytime. Other spiders hunt at night. A lot of spiders. I used to feed spiders at night. They would build webs out on the porch. and we would go out and turn the light on, and that would draw moths and things to the light, and we would catch them, and then we would toss them into the spider webs and sit there and watch the spider run out, grab the moth, and wrap it up in its web, and then tuck it down here and put it in the cabinet, and wait till we threw another one in there. It was just I just love to watch them work. But these guys get out and they sneak around and they hunt, kind of like a cat, but they've got, I would say, even better vision. That's very cool how much detail and natural tech these little, yeah, I mean, isn't it, Carol? I mean, for a, as I don't know how to say this. As evolution goes, these guys are much less evolved in some ways than we are, and yet more than we are. Their eyes are far more. I mean, we've got great telescopic vision, and it works that way, but that's typical for predators, and most people would say we're considered in that regard a predator. Our eyes are in the front of our head, and we see out. And we've got almost 180-degree vision from here around, and we see color, and we have that depth perception thing going. That's critical for predators. Prey species tend to have their eyes on the side of their heads, so they see things coming. Now, these guys hunt, and they see all around, so they can catch all those little wigglies and bugs and things that might be in your house. And this is a little bit more about the eyes, but the other thing I'm fascinated by with some of these spiders, and it seems to be prevalent a lot on these little jumping spiders, is color. Look at that dark cobalt blue. I think I'd call it cobalt. And if you can see it, the eyes are almost a purple. The center eyes are almost a purple look. Now that's got a lot to do with reflection, but those upper two are brassy bronze looking. I mean, they're just the colors. They're neat. And that explains a little bit too about the eyes and which ones are which. And I'm not going to get into that right now, but if we wanted to really do it, we could. And these are just some pictures of some different kind. Remember I said you'll see a jumping spider catching something really big? Well, that's a small jumping spider that has caught a green, I'm going to say grasshopper. It's probably more of a leaf hopper or almost a katydid looking thing. But look how much bigger it is than the spider is. And that spider literally jumped out, caught that thing, grabbed it. They're very strong for their size. That guy mentioned how they jump and how they pump the blood. They're not really blood, but we'll call it blood for now, into their legs. That's what allows them to jump more. That they have their leg system and the way these guys move. And I only saw this about jumping spiders. It may apply to others. But they almost have like a hydraulic system that can propel them. They can shoot out across something, and that's because it's like a shock absorber. You can load them up and bang, launch off across a gap. Or, you got to remember, a spider that's this big, that's a long jump. And these guys can do it well. But anyway, these are all just different versions of jumping spiders. The guy on top's really cute. I mean, upper right, I'd like to have one like that. Now, see, Brenda's not in here, and I wanted her in here because, and here's upper left-hand corner. I'll tell you about Brenda in a minute. That one's catching flies, some kind of bug. Actually, could be a wasp, actually. I'm trying to look at the wings. I can't see them that well. Anyway, some kind of critter you probably don't want in your house. That upper right one's not from the United States, but I mean, that almost looks like a big ant to me. But count the legs. And then there's a little one down here, and he's actually got a different kind of spider he's caught. So they probably feed on each other too at times. Whole different color variation, not real bright, but look at some really cool browns and camouflage looking, cryptic, very cryptic. And then you got one of this guy up here to the upper left. It's kind of like, it looks a little bit like a yellow sack that we talked about earlier, but you can look at the eyes and tell the arrangement and that sort of thing. I mean, they're almost see-through. And that guy in the lower right is making a leap. And if you look real close, you can see the spinner. It's laying out a little spinner of a web. And if it doesn't need that web, if it makes it the other side, it may just cut that off and, it'll just be floating in the wind or whatever. Um, but if it misses or the wind blows it, it can swing back around on that thread and start again. Kind of like Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. And that's the end. And look at that guy at the top saying, bye-bye. And now everybody can open their eyes and look again because that's all the spiders. So that was, I might have run through that quick, probably not quick enough for some of you. But we could do spiders for days probably. And someday we'll talk about them some more. And I'm sure if Mark was here, he'd have plenty to add to that. He gets to see different kinds of spiders. I about wrecked a car. Well, not a car, actually, a camper van, a motorhome. One time we were going out west, our family. Kelly wasn't here yet. It was just Jennifer and Brenda and I, and Mark, his sister, Lisa, his dad and mom. We all got a camper, rented a camper, and we went to New Mexico, traveled around some, and mostly in northeast New Mexico, the mountains and such. And I was driving, and we're out in West Texas, maybe, or just getting into New Mexico, and we kind of came over this little rise where it rounded off, and you could see down into a valley. But right there in the middle of the road was a big old tarantula walking across the road. And I hit the brakes and just about ran into the ditch, and they wouldn't let me drive much after that. They said I was too busy watching other stuff. Imagine that. But anyway, so I was excited. I don't know if that was the trip we brought one home or not. Might have been. Probably was. Yeah, actually, I know it was. Jen and I brought home several things. We brought home a couple of horned lizards, and we brought home a couple of other kinds of lizards, and we brought home a tarantula, who we named Tranny. And we fed her crickets all the time. What? It was on the road? Oh, yes, it was in the road. It was walking across the road. I didn't bring this up, but there are certain times of the year in some countries, and sometimes in the American West, happens in Texas and along the edge of Mexico, you'll get some of these where we have tarantulas, because we don't have tarantulas everywhere. Certain times of the year, they'll just be out. You'll see them on the road. You'll see them crossing the sidewalk. It's because they're out looking for mates. That's their breeding season, so they're out looking for friends. Sort of like around here when skunk season, when the skunks are time to breed, we find them all up and down the road because they get hit by cars. I guess the girlfriends always live on the other side of the road or something. I don't. And you know how boys are. Once they get girls on their mind, they don't look. So why is this not gone? There it went. Now I got it. All right, guys. So it is 12:08. I actually didn't do too bad considering how much I gabbed before I started. But as you can see, that could have gone. I mean, there's so much about that. And that was just really two kinds of spiders we talked about. Well, we talked about five venomous spiders, but not much. And then we talked about jumping spiders. And but here's one of the things that got me started. So I hate that Brenda missed the show. We've got a little spider in our house, and she named him. Now, we don't have him in a little cage or anything, but she watches him. She sees it. And she named him Spoody, Spoody, Spoody. Let me see if I got that right because I wrote it down to make sure I did. Yep, Spoody. And so, she's been watching videos of these things and people talking about having jumping spiders as pets. And I can't remember, somebody else brought it up in a conversation we were having. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, so she's been paying attention, and we've got probably a couple of them around the house at different times, but they're just about that big. And I can't see that but not very big. Again, you could probably spread one out and it wouldn't even be near the size of this thing. And that's a watch battery. But so that was one of the reasons I got to looking at jumping spiders, and my wife brought it up. And so I was looking them up a little bit, and actually, she's got one named Spooty, so we'll see how long Spooty lasts around the house. So you weren't looking at other stuff, you were watching the road. Now, Tina, exactly, Tina. Exactly. You're right on. You're spot on. That's what I said. I'm watching the road. Just so happens that the spider was in the road, a big spider, big enough for me to see. And he was crawling across the road. I didn't want to run over him. I wanted to catch him, which I didn't catch that one, but I did later. But yeah, that's exactly. I was watching where I was going. The spider was just in my way. Thank you, Tina. I'm glad somebody finally understood. Because everybody else just, thought I was going to, I was looking off into the, which I probably was that too, but at that moment I wasn't. I mean, I'm sure I am not the only one like this, but you go off to a place like New Mexico and you're an East Tennessee boy, and you go out there and you see antelope and mule deer and great big spiders crossing the road, and maybe an armadillo somewhere. Of course, we're getting those here now, but we didn't have them back then. It might be a big rattlesnake. Uh, when I'd go out and stay with Mark when he was out there going to school, him and all his friends liked to, if they didn't have anything else going on, they would go what they called herping, herpetology, the study of snakes and lizards and that sort of thing. And they go, "Bye, Dave. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Appreciate you hanging around." And we go herping, and we did that at night. Did it at night because that's when snakes are out, obviously. Uh, but they also went out because you could see them crossing the road. Your headlights would hit them, and they'd be wiggling across the road, and everybody jump out of the truck and run out there and grab them, throw it in the cooler in the back of the truck, and away we'd go find some more. We caught the cutest little baby rattlesnake one night. He was about this big, and I swear to you, he was it. I don't know if it was he or she. Was not much bigger than this pencil in diameter. Well, focus. Well, maybe it's not going to focus, but you kind of get the idea. Pencil size, and we fed it a mouse. We found the smallest little bitty tiny mouse we could find, and I know it's a baby mouse and all that, and we dropped it in the cage just to watch it and study it and see how it reacted. And that little snake couldn't have been more than a few days old, I'm sure, maybe a week or so, but it knew how to hunt instantly. As soon as that mouse hit that inside that cage, that snake started tracking the mouse. It ate the mouse. Needless to say, it dispatched the mouse and then ate it. And and it looked like somebody had taken a pencil and imagine, let's say a piece of hose like for your aquarium, and somehow or another you managed to put a marble in the middle of it. That's what that little snake looked like. And I was fascinated that something so little could eat that. Even a little bitty tiny mouse was still way bigger than it was. But by God, it ate it. It sure did. But he didn't bother any of us. Anyway, guys, that's all about spiders. Anybody got any questions? Like, Tim, why don't you talk about normal stuff like other people? Why do you have to talk about snakes and spiders and stuff like that? Oh, hopefully Mark will be back. Did you say anything about a bear show? I don't think I did, but I could do a bear show. I probably ought to do a bear show, shouldn't I? I mean, eventually that would make a lot of sense. I don't know. Have I ever actually done just bears? I don't think I have. I know I've talked about them a lot, but I don't know if I've just, concentrated on that. Might do that, Tina. That's something else I'll put on my list. Anybody, if you want me to talk about, if you'd like to talk about something, guys. I'm open for ideas always. Uh, I looked and can't find any. Okay. All right. I'll write that down, Tina, and I'll work on that. Who knows? That could be next week. My question is, can we talk about butterflies instead of creepy bugs next time? Butterflies it is. Tina did ask for bears first, so they may come first. But yeah, we can do butterflies. In fact, that's a good topic because, butterflies are way more important than we think sometimes. I mean, just it's so easy as humans to overlook things like bugs and spiders and butterflies and not think they play some significant role, but they actually play bigger roles than we like to let on sometimes. I mean, I've always looked at it like this: everything out there, from the smallest microbe up to the biggest bear, eats something. Pollinators. Well, yes, we can do pollinators in general, but butterflies are very important pollinators. I know everybody in here has seen it, but I'd love to go to. Brendan and I've talked about it before. I know, uh, and we may have mentioned it in here, but I'd love to go down to Mexico and see the areas where the monarchs go to migrate to. And hey, Donna, welcome in, Donna. Oh, you've been watching on TV, then you would have seen great big spiders. Hopefully, nobody got too weirded out. Um, how about hummingbirds? I don't know if we've ever done hummingbirds or not, but I can always, because anything I've done, I'm sure I've missed tons of stuff anyway. But I don't know that I have. Again, we talk about birds and stuff, and sometimes they get lumped in together, but I'll put that on the list. I'd be more than happy to. I love hummingbirds. Unfortunately, as you probably know, well, you might see a couple more in Florida, but basically, we got so cheated out of hummingbirds in the eastern United States, we only get one as a rule. Sometimes we get a stray, but out west, they've got dozens. It's Mark. I just want to kill him. I just want to slap Mark sometimes. He gets talking about all the hummingbirds he's got. Hey, Donna. Oh, yes, hummingbirds. No, I don't think you've done hummers. Okay. I'll do hummers. I know, like I said, I know we've brought them up, but I don't know that we've ever just focused on that. So there's one, two, three. There's four good ideas. Hummingbirds are pollinators also, and in some places more than others, they're very important pollinators in Hawaii. I'm sure Elena probably knows, has probably taught we has mentioned that in other places, but there's hummingbirds in Hawaii that have a curved beak or bill instead of the straight ones like we have. And that's because they pollinate a specific flower over there. And unfortunately, one of those two species has either threatened or I don't think they're extinct yet, but they could be because if either the plant goes away or the bird goes away, the other one can't live. They're symbiotic. They one feeds the other one and one pollinates the other one, and I mean it's a really cool thing. There's so much to them. They're small but mighty. Yeah, they are small but mighty. A cool thing, Don. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Maybe you have or heard about. They fly over. When I was still in college, the second time around, and talking to more people that did birding research and all that kind of stuff. They see hummingbirds crossing the Gulf of Mexico when they come up from Central and South America. And they fly over the United States and they just come over in a big wave, and they actually can see those birds, all those little bitty hummingbirds, not individually, but they can see them as like a cloud on radar. So they can see them crossing over, and once they figured out that they could see that, there are people, scientists and others that watch radar screens at certain times of the year just so they know what's kind of figure out what's when and what's coming across the Gulf. It's really cool. I mean, whoever would have thought you could see little bitty hummingbirds, on radar, but when they're in a bunch like that, they show up. What did Richard say? He loves hummingbird cake. I think I've had hummingbird cake maybe once. But it looks like I would like it a lot. I mean, I'd be willing to stick my nose right down in it and give it a try. I'm trying to think if Brenda made it one time. I'm not sure. Donna, I'm pretty sure I've seen you make it though. Have I? Or have I? I was thinking I had. We had. Like I said, it just looks like something I'd really like to eat. When it comes to sweet stuff, I'm probably at least 30% hummingbird because like I said, I like to stick my nose right down in it. If only you knew an excellent cook to make it. That's right. I made hummingbird cake on one of my first. That's what I thought. I mean, and I realized it'd been that. That's why I asked if you had, because it'd been a while. But I was pretty sure you had. But again, speaking of Dawn, I should do this, shouldn't I? So you guys know what I'm talking about. And Carol added this just in case nobody saw it. Oh, she's probably gonna be upset with herself because she didn't make the show today. Maybe she can watch it in replay. I need to tell her that. She needs to do that. Be good for me. Help my numbers. And I've talked about this a lot, guys. Over the last 3 years, I've never wanted to have a big show, but I would like to build it up a little bit. So I keep trying to figure out ways to do that, but I don't want to change it so much that, I like what we do on Saturday mornings, but that's just because I am who I am. You guys show up, you must like some part of it, or you wouldn't keep coming back. But I don't really attract many other people usually. I'm trying to a little bit more, but I'm working on that. But I don't want to have a huge show. But I look and see people that have other, how many subscribers and stuff they have, and I think, boy, I must be doing something really wrong because I just don't have that many. But then again, I haven't really tried. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, so there we go. There you have it. Donna's channel. Oh yeah, thank you, Tina. Oh, and that reminds me, I probably won't be able to find it. I had a couple of links I wanted to put in the show, or just in case anybody was interested. Let me see if I can find those real quick. Chat amongst yourselves for a moment. Oh, I'll put this in there. I think Brenda might have shown me this. Is again back to how she was talking about the jumping spiders. I'll put this link in. Just one. It's it's a whole thing now. This whole jumping spider thing has gotten to be a big deal amongst some people anyway. I don't know if you do TikTok, but that is a TikTok video. But I don't make TikToks. I don't do TikToks, but I do watch them occasionally. Hang on, I know that's not the only thing I had a link to. Oh, well, again, this is just maybe you do, maybe you won't. But if you were interested in learning more about hobo spiders, for example, because I don't know much about them, I'm going to have to learn more about them. There's a link that's to that extension, University of maybe it's University of Southern Utah. That's where I got some of that information on the hobo spiders. Let me see if I got one more. I really thought I did. And again, I may not. I don't do a lot of links for you guys sometimes because I figure somebody out there can find it faster than I can put it up. But because I know some of you are quicker and better at that than I am. I guess that's the only ones I had. I better save that. Anyway, Utah State, and it works too. Okay, good. Oh, it's just Utah State University. Okay. I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was Southern. Makes sense. It'd just be Utah State. I can't remember what town it was, where that one is located. I think that might be the Utes. Anyway, Rhonda made it back. Welcome back, Rhonda. Welcome back. I can't sing. Never mind. Okay. Well, guys, it is almost 12:30. I'm sure. Donna, are you guys doing a show today? If I already missed it, weren't you guys doing a box opening, or was that? Did I already miss that? Because I meant to say something about that. Time for food. Yeah, I've got to go back down the line, walk back to the house if I want food. But I probably ought to get something to eat. Rain has started. Well, it quit here finally, Rhonda, but it's probably going to come back. And I guess I should throw this out there once in a while just because. They're live today at 2. I thought so. Everybody go to Donna's site, and Carol or Tina, if one of you wants to put that link in there. I know they're opening a box today, and I don't know about you guys, but I really Rhonda has a 12:30 meeting. Yeah, oh, hurry up, Rhonda, don't be late. Thank you. See you next time. I like to watch people that open boxes for tasting because you never know what kind of facial expressions you're going to see. But you can usually tell if it's good or bad before anything is said. I mean, I give them and most people I've seen do that credit. They always try to make as good an impression of it as they can. But I know sometimes it just does not taste like you hoped, or at least I suspect it wouldn't for me. Or not, maybe not that it tastes bad. It's just way different than you expect. All right, guys. Donna, I hope to see you there. I'm gonna try to, if I don't fall asleep on the couch or something, I'll try to be be in there because I want to see what you guys are eating today. I actually find some of those shows very interesting because it's kind of cool to see what other people munch on when they're watching TV or movies, or to know that I'm not the only one that sits and eats snacks when I'm watching TV, or maybe should be doing something else. I'll watch later. Yes, facial expressions are sometimes. Oh yes, they absolutely are. Of course, Richie, it's hard to tell. Richie can stay pretty. He can maintain a. I have to give Richard credit. He can kind of maintain a pretty even, kill facial expression. So sometimes it's hard to read. We're trying 3 European crates today. Oh, 3. So not just one, not a particular country, but just poker face. Yeah, good poker face. Yeah, I wouldn't want to play cards with him. I think he'd probably win. So 3 different ones, huh? And they're from different. All of them are a mix of foods, not just one country per crate. Please send get well. I will. I'll do that. Hopefully he'll be back with us next week. I'll let him know you guys were all asking about him. And like I said, he had hoped to pop in today. He's never done it on his phone, so he might not have been sure, and he might not. Phone signal out there is horrible, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So he might have tried and wasn't able to. But when I talk to him, and I'm gonna call him later. Hopefully get a hold of him, and if he's actually still at the doctor's office, which he shouldn't be now, because he thought he would be home before noon. But that's why he was hoping he might get back in time to be on, come on the show. Some various countries all over here. Cool. I hope to see you there then. And anyway, guys, love you guys. Thanks for being here. Next week it won't be about spiders, just so everybody knows. Could be one of these topics I just wrote down here, and good chance it will be. I might have to eeny, meeny, miny, mo, or put them in a box and pull them out of a hat. But anyway, thanks, guys, and everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. I hope your team wins if you're watching one, and if you're not watching one, then you ought to be. And I will see you next time, guys. So long. Hit all the buttons here, and then